Do you recognize these three songs? What do they have in common? There's that, right? What about this one? Or so what do they all have in common there? Do you guys recognize these riffs? Of course, these are classic songs, and they all have sixths, right? This is what I love about this, man. We were just talking about sixths and how much, and I wanted to show you some of the famous songs that have them in there. So let's take a quick look at sixth again. You can check out my video for here on this on sixth, and I want to show you this to review the two main shapes that we play. I call this the staggered shape and the flat one. Now those two shapes get you everything for a while. We do this on the G and the E strings, and we can do the same shapes on the D and the B strings. Now how do we keep track of them? Usually you can see them in a chord shape, and that's how you know where they are in the chord. You can get theoretical about this and know a little deeper, but let's just look directly at chord shapes as we do this. In the first video, I talked about how to strum them or pluck them, so you could take a look at that video for those things. But right now, let's go back to some of the songs I just did, and let's talk about what they're doing. For the first song I was doing was Never Going Back Again by Fleetwood Mac, and I've got my capo here on the 3rd fret. But what he's doing is he has this A shape inversion, and he's hammering on a D shape inversion, and the outside of those two shapes are the 6th. So when he's playing this, you can hear those 6ths very distinctly in between the two chords. Then after this pretty little thing in between, wow, that's so nice, right? He does, but the main chunk of that is that 6th. And in the previous video, I was talking about this. I call this a 1-2-3 sound. Very cool. So again, he plays that, the first inversion, then the pretty little chord in between, then those 6ths again. Beautiful. So I mean, so many acoustic songs, they lend themselves so nicely to 6th, and that's a classic example of one. The second tune I looked at was Soul Man, the Sam and Dave version. It's in the key of G, and they start out right on the 7th fret, and this is where I would recommend using the middle finger again on the G string, and the 3rd finger on the high E string. It goes from there, if we just look quickly at the frets, it's 7 to 5. Kind of slide them. If you listen to the recording, you can hear that. We'll go up to 10, 12, and 14. Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-down, and then the song kicks in. And what he's doing is he's chasing the chord changes. I believe this is Steve Cropper who played this. And he's probably looking at this little G shape. It looks like a D chord, but it's part of the C inversion or the D shape of the cage system, however you want to look at it. But it's a D chord, a G chord, excuse me, inversion. So he's playing the two outer notes. And that's what I mentioned earlier, that sometimes if you see your shape, you'll see the 6th in it. He follows the changes. The intro goes G, F, B flat, C, D, harmonically. So that's why these chords go from the 7th fret for the G, 5th fret for the F, 10th fret for the B flat, 12th fret for the C, and then 14 for the D. Really cool, very straight down, just like you're following a bar chord, he's following the 6ths up and down. Very cool. The third riff I played was Stormy Monday, at least the Allman Brothers version I'm thinking of. I love that it starts with that augmented chord. Sounds like a question mark, right? He's playing a G7. It's a G blues. It's kind of enhanced a little bit, but just looking at the first couple chords, you You can play this with a bar chord, but this version, I really recommend this version for a number of reasons. And in this case, it's because these two fingers are making the G7 chord. And they're gonna make the 6th that we slide. So if you can remember the look of it, even if you're playing this one here, these are both in this case on the 3rd fret, and they're on the D and the B strings. And they're part of the G7 chord. That's the flat 7 and the 5th of the chord. And they do this classic kind of up and back sound. So you go like 1, 2. And then when he goes to the C9 chord, you can see in this chord on the 3rd fret on the G and the E strings, there it is there. So it's G, and I believe he even follows it with a half step to the A flat. Really cool. So he's just, when he moves up a half step to A flat, he does the same thing, and then back to the G. And that's just a great way, just that, not for Stormy Monday, but for so many blues ballads, that's the sound, right? I mean, that's a million songs, you recognize that. So it's really important as the 6ths are, and that term is the intervals, the distance. They're 6 letters apart, technically, in a scale. It's just a spacing, and we often see it on the guitar as non-adjacent strings. So the G and the E strings have a pair, the B and the D, even the A and the G and the E and the D. People, John Mayer, whoever, like a lot of people will use the other sets of strings too. By far, if you're learning guitar though, like the top sets of strings by far outweigh the thicker sets in terms of commonality and usage and stuff. So you want to get used with those. And again, remember, it's just 2 shapes. I call it the staggered and the flat one. You can see that first video again to refresh you on that. Thank you so much again. My name is Suk Cerullo. Hit the notification, hit the subscribe button. Everything now we do is through sukcerullo.com. Go check it out. We have our book. My books are there. My online community, the 6-string community, is based out of there as well. And I would love to have you in there. We're there every week. I do 4 classes. I just finished up teaching a class right now before I did this. And I would love to have you in there. So go check it out and hit me up if you have any questions. Just email me through my website. I'll be more than happy to talk to you. All right, well, let me know in the comment below what some other 6th songs you know of that you like. There's so many good ones out there. I'd love to hear some more and fill my library full of them. All right, out there. Thank you, guys. You rock. Have a great time, and I'll keep playing out there, right?